Members, we now come to questions in the Justice Sector, B5 Volume 7. The question is that vote Attorney General, vote Corrections, vote Courts, vote Justice, vote Parliamentary Council, vote Police and vote Serious Fraud stand part of the schedules. Jackie Dean.
Yeah. Under this government, I'm very proud to say our very tough and focused stand on law and order. New Zealand's recorded crime rate is almost without exception falling and is at its lowest level since 1978, and that's a record that this government should well be proud of. But it's not just the government, of course, delivering services in the justice sector. It is all those, our police, our corrections, Attorney General, all of those who run our court system, all of those in the justice sector who are delivering on behalf of the people of New Zealand. So one of the focus for the national government is getting the key justice sector agencies, and that is justice, that is police and corrections, to further drive crime down, and that is what they are doing, because what we want to do is to reduce the impact of crime on all New Zealanders, and are focusing also on the victims of crime. And I know that my colleagues are keen to pick up that aspect of the justice sector. However, several challenges do remain, and the Minister of Justice, Amy Adams, when she came to our committee, made a particular point on focusing on those issues. So we know that the incident and also the impact of crime is very unevenly spread. Research has found that 6% of adults experience 54% of all crime, and that is not a figure to be proud of, and that is a figure that this government is focusing on. One area of concern is the overrepresentation of Māori in our criminal justice system, both as offenders but also as victims of crime. Māori are imprisoned at a rate 6 times the rate of non-Māori. And there are other statistics which do not make good reading, but whether or not they make good reading is no reason not to focus on them, and that is one of the focus of the Minister and Ministry of Justice. And the other focus which I want to talk about in my contribution is family violence. So the Minister acknowledged to the Justice and Electoral Select Committee that while crime is at a 63-year low, the high incidence of family crime is unacceptable to her, it is unacceptable to us, and so it should be. So reducing family violence is the top priority for the Ministry of Justice. About half of all homicides in New Zealand are as a result of family violence. On average, 14 women, 7 men and 8 children are killed by a member of their family every year. These are shameful statistics. Around half of all violent offence charges in the courts relate to domestic violence. And in 2013, there were 11,700 prosecutions for domestic violence-related offences. So what are we doing? What are we doing about that? In July of last year, the government announced a new package of family violence reforms, and I'm going to go through those because they are significant and they are important. There was the reviewing of the Domestic Violence Act to ensure that it keeps victims safe and also holds offenders to account. There was the trialling of mobile safety alarms for victims so that they can notify police of an emergency and of their location. And just as a sidebar there, police are now not any longer sitting back at the station waiting for those alarms to go off necessarily. They are out in the community using new technologies out on the streets, being proactive in protecting victims of crime. This government has established a Chief Victims Advisor, and that advisor is to the Minister of Justice, to advise on the needs and views of victims of crime, including domestic violence victims. And it's the views of the victims of crime which are so terribly important in putting victims at the centre of our justice system. We've heard through a number of bill considerations that it is the victims who need to have a voice, who need to, whether it's the victim impact statement or whether it is putting voice to the impact that has been on them, that is so necessary.
David Parker.